Chief, I am tired. I am tired, man. The strikes against Iran are back on. War is back on, baby, to absolutely nobody's surprise. Let's see what Fox News has to say.
With an alert, President Trump hitting the ground running in Turkey, already making headlines this morning as he attends the NATO summit. It's doing that right now.
The commander-in-chief revealing that he thinks the ceasefire with Iran is over.
Mark Meredith is live in Turkey with the very latest. Good morning, Mark.
Lawrence, Kaylee, and Brian, good morning, friends. Today, President Trump is putting Iran on notice. Attacks on tankers moving through the Strait of Hormuz will not be tolerated. Overnight, the U.S. launching 80 attacks on Iranian targets. This all comes as the president is here on the ground in Turkey, meeting with world leaders who are eager to see the NATO alliance united. Video released overnight by Central Command shows the U.S. is responding, and while these latest strikes appear over for now, CENTCOM says it is standing by if more action is needed. Iran responded overnight, launching their own counterstrikes at targets in Kuwait and Bahrain. We just got a statement from the Qataris who said that they are not happy with Iran launching these attacks on their Mideast allies. We also heard from the president who says he believes the ceasefire recently reached with Iran is simply no longer in place.
Maybe the Gulf state vassals should be not happy with America because America is completely fucking everything up for everybody, fucking up the world economy for everybody, causing a global energy crisis for everybody. Why? Because Trump got a face full of shit with this botched war, and he cannot take the fucking L. He cannot take the L. The Iranians proved they don't need a fucking nuke. They have the Strait of Hormuz, baby, and that's an economic nuke, and Trump cannot accept that fact. So now he's fucking wailing, he's crying, he's like, oh, let me win, just let me win. Iranian's like, nope, you bombed our girls' school, you're bombing our people, nope.
Is the ceasefire over? Is the ceasefire done? Is the MOU dead?
It's a very interesting question. To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people.
Scum, sick people are like the people that decide to kill a school full of little girls. Scum, sick people that continue sending money to Israel so they can kill more little girls. I hope whatever medical ailment is weighing this dude down, I hope it accelerates.
And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. I'll speak to our negotiators.
One person who is defending the president's decision to launch these strikes is NATO Secretary General, saying Iran is causing chaos throughout the Middle East. Trump is spending much of his short time here in Turkey urging NATO members to spend more of their money investing in the alliance defense. Today, he had some very tough words for Spain, which got permission not to contribute as much as other countries, 5% of GDP, when it comes to NATO's defenses. For the president, though, that's an outrageous move.
To trade with them. I don't want to do any more trade with them. All right? Yes, take it immediately. Don't even talk to them. They're hopeless. Bad people because, you know, they have everybody else going and paying and working. In particular, Spain. There are a couple of others, but in particular, Spain. They're open about it. They're hostile about it. They make so much money with us, and we're going to see that they make a lot less.
The president certainly with those tough words for Spain. We heard from the Spanish prime minister who said he believes that relations between the U.S. and Spain are still on good footing and that he believes the relationship simply remains intact. We'll see if the president elaborates anymore. They've already had their family photo. But, guys, there are two big meetings still on the agenda. One, President Trump sits down with the Syrian leader, as well as the meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. That'll happen later today. And then that all-ever important news conference still on the books several hours from now. Kaylee, Brian, and Lawrence, back to you.
Yeah, I thought they said 4 o'clock Eastern time, so we'll see, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you. 9:15 a.m. is the news conference, and he will definitely elaborate then. And Brian, I am fascinated to hear more from him because there was some nuance there, as we discussed. The president said he'll let his negotiators keep negotiating, the nice people, he said. But I think something that might seal the deal of the end of the ceasefire is the fact of the revocation of the license to sell oil to Iran. That is what they want most. So you've removed the chief incentive for Iran to cooperate by not allowing them to sell oil. So they have no incentive to keep abiding by an MOU that they were not even abiding by to begin with. So I think that spells the end. And just to note that Iran's been rebuilding during the ceasefire. Apparently, they now have access to more than half of the missiles and launchers they had lost before the conflict. So they've been quickly rebuilding.
So they buried them. They brought them out. They're also targeted. And we've been watching everything, too. My hope is, number one, we found a way to fortify our Gulf allies. And number two, my hope is that we went to school on what worked and what didn't work if we go back.
America's gonna let the Gulf allies fucking burn. Come on now. Come on now, buddy. Let's be honest. America doesn't even care about its own people. You expect me to believe, yeah, America cares about its fucking allies in the Middle East? Hell no. America's abandoning no fucking bases, bro.
Full scale. To have Admiral Cooper present that plan and let's go at it, if in fact that is indeed what they're going to do. My sense is Iran, they say that they're evil, but they're not crazy. And if they actually want to go back to receiving this type of beatdown, instead of trading on the normalizing trade, that would be a choice that many people think they wouldn't take. So I'm very curious to see what Iran's going to say after the president made his remarks about an hour ago about what he's going to do next, because those launchers were buried, so that means they couldn't be used. So they're going to bring them out and use them. We hit 80 separate targets already, and many of them are communications with each other. My sense is if they want to hit back on Iran, at the same time keep oil prices down, which are up 6%, the Strait of Hormuz has got to be within our control, and that's got to be the military operation that we go for.
So just to build on your...
How the fuck are we going to gain control of the fucking Strait? See, like, these people on Fox News, man, it's been the same shit since I was a kid with the Iraq War and the war in Afghanistan. It's the same shit. All these mainstream outlets, they love war. They love war. They love the endless war. They love the defense spending. They love it. They love the blood and carnage. They love it, man. They absolutely love it. How are we gonna fucking regain how are we gonna take control of the Strait, huh? How are we gonna take control of the Strait? We're gonna fucking put boots on the ground at Karg Island? Is that what we're gonna fucking do? Like Fox News, these people, they just want to escalate the war. They don't care about American lives. They don't care. You want to know how you get them fucking gas prices to go down? End the fucking war. End the fucking war. End the war. Tell the Mensch Diaper Don end the motherfucking war. But he doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to. I won the war. Nobody's seen a greater war. One like me. I'm the best commander-in-chief ever. Like, dude, fucking terrible. Just terrible. We have this fucking corrupt media arm of the Republican Party, that's Fox News, and these fucking people beat the drums of war. Nobody is talking sense to Trump, telling him to end this fucking war. And look where we're at. The neocons are in control. The neocons are in control. Trump told you no new wars. Lied to your ass. You got your ass.
Point, Brian, because you're exactly right. The Strait is going to be the tool that they use again. It's going to be oil prices that they're going to use again. I think from a military standpoint, we're still on the 5-yard line. So the question is, just moving the conversation forward, does the political leadership, and I'm not talking about the president because he's made the case on why Iran is a threat, but when you talk about Congress, when you talk about Senate, when you talk about even the media now, the president has tried peace with Iran. He's tried to get the oil prices down. The Iranians have rejected his offer. So nationally, is he going to get some support on this now? Because you can't have the president making the case by himself. What we saw during the last go-around, during the military actions, is that the president was talking about the threat. He got no backup from the Senate. He got no backup from the House. And then the media was saying that our military was losing the war every single day. Meanwhile, their Navy is in the sea. They have many of the launching pads are done. they depleted a lot of their missiles as well. So I just hope as we restart this kinetic activity that there's a little bit change in support in the messaging.
Absolutely. There was this interesting moment. I want our viewers to watch this and just think, you have the head of NATO, Rutte, and his interest is shoring up the NATO alliance. And you have President Trump, who's clear-eyed, who is America first, and who realizes that the members of NATO weren't quite there during this Iran conflict.
How is he America first? How is he America first spending over $100 billion on this fucking war in Iran and nobody fucking asked for, even though he said that there's gonna be no new wars? How the fuck is that America first? Since when the fuck is America over there in Iran, huh? Somebody wanna fucking point that out to me on a map? Like, we're defending your freedom. Over there. Over there. Fuck out of here. You want me to believe that shit, dude? Y'all seriously want Americans to fucking believe this shit, dude?
Conflict, and watch him push back on Rutte, who he has a good relationship with.
When it comes to Iran, I know you're disappointed. We discussed it a couple of weeks ago. I would say these are isolated cases. 5,000 planes taking off from European airports in support of Epic Fury. It was Europe as one big platform of power projection for the United States, helping with Epic Fury, including countries you mentioned, Germany from day one, France, and many others. We discussed the Bucharest airport, which was closed for a couple of days for commercial traffic because you needed it for Epic Fury, and they were totally
United
fine.
Kingdom wouldn't let us use the island for 2 weeks, so we had to fly back.
No, so I'm saying you're right. There are isolated
and
cases.
Italy was very bad, having to do with their bases, as you know, and a couple of others. So
But still, generally, 5,000 is huge. And you mentioned Spain. Even you got Spain to pay 2%. They made a huge step in last year. So there's still issues we have to solve. But hey, also even on Spain.
And
It's crazy. It is so crazy that the NATO Secretary General was like, yeah, I love you. I love working with Donald Trump. And it's like, do you not remember this guy who was threatening to take over fucking Greenland? He was threatening fucking invade one of the NATO partners. Like, Europe just went through that terrible fucking heat wave, right? Kill thousands of people, right? And they're citing, oh, the cost of energy in Europe is incredibly unaffordable. Do you guys think the war in Iran is helping that? This is what the European cucks that willingly choose to be vassals to America is learning. This is what the Europeans are learning. Is that aligning with American imperial power? I think it's nowhere. It's a death cult, baby. It's a death cult.
we're cutting off aid with Spain. It's $36 billion they're putting into the military in terms of what we trade with them. Essentially, it's not a lot. But one thing that we do, they buy a lot of our missiles, a lot of our rockets for their minimal expenses. We buy a lot of their renewable energy. I don't think this president's huge on renewables and green energy. So there's any trade that's going to happen is going to dissipate. And it's going to be up to this prime minister, whose economic policies are socialists and was struggling in the polls to rationalize this type of body blow.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all.
All right. Battle for Hormuz. U.S. military hits 90 Iranian targets from Fox News.
In D.C., where Madeline Rivera has the latest out of the Middle East. Maddie.
Good morning, Carly and Todd. Iran says it attacked U.S. targets in Kuwait and Bahrain in retaliation to that second round of U.S. strikes. CENTCOM says it hit about 90 Iranian military targets, including air defense systems, coastal surveillance assets, and missile and drone storage sites.
Over $100 billion fucking dollars. $100 billion U.S. dollars spent on this war so far. Remember that. How many billions of dollars did Trump cut into social programs for Americans? How many billions of dollars is he richer from all the schemes and the pay to play that his family, this corrupt administration has taken part in? Riches for me and woeful demise for D. That's the motto for the Trump regime.
U.S. forces say they are trying to degrade Iran's ability to attack commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz after Tehran hit 3 ships earlier this week. The latest tit for tat comes as President Trump claims the ceasefire is over. Yet he also insists the attacks don't mean a return to war, and he indicates he will allow the peace talks to continue.
They're sort of crazy, to be honest with you. They're sort of crazy. They're a little bit out of control, but they want to make a deal. Badly.
Iran remains defiant. Their top negotiator saying America still hasn't learned that bullying and breaking promises are no longer cost-free. Let me put it plainly. If you strike, you'll get hit. Don't flail around pointlessly and you'll sink even deeper. The Strait of Hormuz will only open with Iranian arrangements, not American threats.
America has not learned. Donald Trump and his cronies and his corrupt administration have not learned. We have lost this war. America has lost this war. Iran has won. They get to dictate the terms of our surrender so the Strait of Hormuz can be reopened and global trade can continue and the global energy crisis can be stopped. That's what's happening. And Donald Trump, every single day, Donald Trump continues this war. The more lives get lost, Iranian lives, lives in the Middle East. And because of the global energy crisis, it will affect everybody else in terms of the material and the famine that's going to happen, the energy shortage. Like, Trump and American empire does not care. They don't care. They don't even care if they're losing this war in the most pitiful, embarrassing fucking way and making American empire look so fucking weak. They don't care. This shit is a death cult, bro. Bring the fucking troops home. Bring the fucking troops home. Give the Iranians what they want. Give them their fucking money. Take the fucking L. Please spend that money on Americans. Stop spending it on war, on bombs, on death and carnage and destruction. But, this is American empire, baby. This is American empire. All we know is death and destruction. And the sooner Americans learn the cost of American imperialism, which is not just the lives of people overseas, but ultimately us, right? You're seeing the violence come back home in the form of ICE, in the form of our police that's trained by Israeli Defense Forces tactics. You're seeing that shit, and you're seeing the real cost of everything. Learn the lesson, America. Learn the lesson.
A spokesperson for Iran's foreign ministry is also warning of grave consequences to U.S. allies that have helped with the strikes in Iran, saying Mark Rutte's repeated admissions of Europe's willful complicity in the U.S.-Israeli war of aggression against Iran only confirms once again that they were not impartial in this brutal, unlawful aggression. Yet the NATO Secretary General's relentless self-congratulation for serving an illegal war of choice does not reflect strength. It exposes the servile mindset of a fawning courtier who fancies that flattery can erase a king's contempt. The rhetoric and mixed messages raising questions about whether a peace deal can actually be achieved. Colleen Todd.
Questions indeed. Madeline Rivera live for us in Washington. Maddie, thank you. All right, let's bring in senior fellow at the Independent Women's Forum and Council on Foreign Relations member, Dr. Kanta Ahmed. Dr. Ahmed, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. So it would seem that Iran is willing to risk escalation with the United States in order to maintain control of the Strait of Hormuz. So if this memorandum of understanding was a way to buy some time, that time may be coming to an end.
Fox News, some cheap bastards, dude. I used to have this fucking these shitty HP laptops. These things fucking suck. You're telling me Fox News can't afford some MacBooks for their fucking Fox hosts? Like, come on, man. And poor woman over here having to work. She's pregnant. No maternity leave for you? Guess that's what happens.
End here.
I think Iran has been very clear in its actions. It is looking for war. It is not moving towards any kind of reconciliation with the region or the United States. The strikes last night are very significant. The focus has been on Khag Island in the media. That's about the size of JFK, 15 miles off the coast of Iran. It's where Iran exports and loads millions of barrels of oil. But the targets have been on nearby islands, Keshem Island, which is like Iran's floating aircraft carrier, infested with IRGC, fast boats, tunnels, all of their weapons, and the United States has struck that tremendously well. Also, Abu Musa, an island that belonged to the UAE in 1971 that's occupied by Iran, and most likely some of these strikes have been staged from the UAE with the US to that region. So this is President Trump and our military tightening the noose on Iran.
America could strike all these islands they want. They could strike Karg Island, they could strike Keshem Island. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Keshem Island, it doesn't matter. Because even if America sends in boots to take those islands, there is no good supply line for American troops to be resupplied. So it is a fucking death trap. It's a death trap. The Iranians have speedboats with soldiers. They got all the fucking drones with fucking bombs attached to them. Like, dude. America, end the war. Bring the troops home. Bring the troops home, America. Stop the nonsense.
Bringing it to understand that we really have you by the throat, we have you by the jugular, and we are going to pressure you to release the Strait of Hormuz and defang the military defense of Karg Island, the oil exporting area.
Those specifics that you just mentioned, will that break them? And if not, what more do we need to break them?
I think the United States has extraordinary capabilities. While President Trump has been open to reconciliation, he's sending his negotiators, I think on July 11th, there's going to be more talks in Islamabad, led by our diplomats. He's very clear that Iran cannot be a nuclear power and cannot continue to jeopardize the whole Gulf region. Iran.
If Trump didn't want Iran to be a nuclear power, maybe he should have not pulled America out of the Iran deal that Obama signed, where Iran stopped refining or enriching rather their uranium. Nope, can't have that. Obama did that. It was a bad deal. I'm gonna get an even better one. A few months later.
Is attempting to hold hostage all of the world's oil infrastructure in Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, even Iraq's export capability. And there is much more that we can do. We can, and we have data on all of the missile cities that are around in 29 of Iran's 31 provinces. We can go more aggressively for various infrastructures that impact, unfortunately, power, energy, water. We are holding them to account. And we can see just this week, the Ayatollah's funeral has been held in ceremonial processions in Iraq. That is Iran projecting power in the region. That's the center of Shia religion, those important places in Iraq. So Iran is now no longer run by clerics. That was led by military nationalists. So this is becoming hardline, and we are meeting them with force, and we will bring them to heel.
So Iran retaliated by striking, they say, Bahrain and Kuwait. Talk to us about where our Gulf allies stand right now when it comes to this renewed fighting.
It's a great question. And I think this may have been underpinning some of the tensions in NATO. Our Gulf allies are vulnerable because they're home to some of the most valuable infrastructure that the world's energy depends on. They also have around them, around the shores, hundreds of desalination plants that the region depends on for drinking water. And so the United States is hoping, and Britain is stepping up, that we have more capabilities in the Persian Gulf, British capabilities, French, and so forth. But France and many of the NATO allies want to wait until the war is over, and that's not acceptable.
Understood.
One final question.
Damn, man. Even this lady who's supposed to be the residential expert with her glasses, I'm a fellow at whatever the fuck pro-war think tank. Even she knows what she just said is not believable. She's like, well, we're hoping for the best, and the desalination plant's like, dude, Iran has not maximized the pain yet on American allies in the region. They have not maximized the pain on the Gulf allies by striking and getting rid of all the desalination plants. Like, shit is not looking good, dude. Shit is not looking good. Like, we were not about to have just a global energy crisis on our hands. Like, if the war continues to escalate, we are about to have the worst mass migration fucking problem you've ever fucking seen. You thought the fucking southern border was bad? Just wait, motherfucker.
Before we let you go, it's the number one question that Carly and I get asked when it comes to the war in Iran. Can we end this war without boots on the ground?
So I feel we have remarkable capabilities and we have extraordinary allies. Particularly, let's bring to attention the allies of United Arab Emirates and Israel, which has not been fairly represented. It's been criticized publicly. So I do think we can put more pressure without endangering American lives further. However, with the amphibious assets in the region, I would not be surprised if after we've neutralized some of the defenses around these critical islands, that the United States troops, our Marines, may actually take some ground in order to increase pressure. That's not on mainland Iran. That's on those critical regional allies, which will open up the energy flows for the region.
Well, the president...
Notice how she's like, Israel is a good partner. No, the fuck they're not, dude. Part of the agreement with Iran is Israel stops the annexation, stops the troops moving in and killing and taking over southern Lebanon. But Israel, like the crazy rabid dog that it is, that America can no longer control, is like, nah. So even if America is like, hey, we're gonna abide by this deal as best as we can, it doesn't fucking matter, because the Israelis are gonna fuck it up. They're gonna fuck it up because they want greater Israel. They want endless war. It's a death cult. It's a death cult. Big death cult led by small death cult. Or small death cult led by big death cult. Death cult leading death cult, man. Like, can we stop it with the death cults? Can we stop it? How about a life cult? How about a life cult where we seek to enrich life? That we seek to stay alive and not take lives? Have we considered that? Doesn't that sound like a wonderful alternative?
Says the ceasefire is over, but that does not mean a return to war. So it's a fine line, and we are seeing how this country is walking it right now. Dr. Ahmed, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your insight very, very much. All right.
So we begin this morning in the Middle East as the military carries out a second night of airstrikes against Iran.
Greg Palcott joins us live from London with the latest on Iran. Greg.
Lawrence, Brian, gang. President Trump promised it, and the U.S. military delivered. Another night of airstrikes against Iran. CENTCOM saying some 90 sites were hit, including port cities along the Persian Gulf coast, an airport, and bridges further inland. The second night in a row of U.S. targeting. And that was followed again by Iranian strikes against U.S. military locations in 3 Gulf nations, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Qatar. Missiles and drones used in those attacks. All this disruption of the temporary ceasefire between Iran and the U.S. triggered by Iranian hits on 3 ships traveling through the Strait of Hormuz earlier this week. Iran thinks it still has control there on its way back from a NATO summit in Turkey. Here's what President...
If the Gulf allies, all the rich assholes over there, if they haven't withdrawn their investments for AI American technology, I hope they do that shit soon. I hope they do it soon. Pop that bubble, baby.
President Trump said on Air Force One.
They're sort of crazy, to be honest with you. They're sort of crazy. They're a little bit out of control, but they want to make a deal. Badly.
In response, Iran's top negotiator, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, posted, America still hasn't learned that bullying and breaking promises are no longer cost-free. Let me put it plainly, if you strike, you'll get hit. Actual negotiations between the two sides regarding the 14-point memorandum of understanding had been paused for Iran's funeral proceedings for its former supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, killed in the first days of the conflict. The body, which had been carried in processions in next-door Iraq as well as Iran, is set to be buried today in his hometown of Mashhad. Folks, it's not clear whether all of this means.
It is wild America decided to strike and kill the previous Ayatollah. Not when he was doing the massacre of his people, but after, when that shit had calmed down. Like, fucking, like, even doing American imperialism poorly, man. Some DEI imperialism.
Means the restart of full-scale conflict. Trump did add that anything that happens is going to happen very fast. Indeed, it is. Back to you.
Well, thanks so much, Greg. And then the day before, 70, so over 150 strikes in 2 days. I'd like to know details of it. We don't have the details of it, but the one thing is pretty clear. Whoever signs the 60 days memorandum of understanding on the Iranian side, they won't have any power. So we should not even pretend that they do. So let's just say the speaker's sincere, the foreign minister's sincere, that they hate us, but they don't want to fight us. They want to be able to unfreeze their funds. They want to be able to sell their oil at market rate. And let's say they want to control the strait, but they know that that would be problematic. The guy that's making the decisions is a guy from the IRGC, this Ahmed Vahidi. So we should not sit down with anybody else. This guy's as evil as it gets. But if we don't deal with him, we should not deal with anyone, because the supreme leader is too scared or too disfigured to come out of his bunker. He doesn't even go to his dad's funeral, so forget about him. So it's about this guy who's running the Quds Force and the IRGC commander. So because either these guys don't control it or they're just talking out of both sides of their mouth, but they refuse, as of this hour, they refuse to give up their gradual control of the strait, which is going to be a fee and toll system.
Man, Americans be like, why don't you just come out, man? Why don't you just come out and be like whack-a-mole? Come on, come out so we can fucking whack you over the head, man. Come on, Ayatollah, come on out. So we can fucking missile strike you, bro. Just like your dad. Come on, this is not fair. You can't just have a decentralized control and command. Oh!
System. And if you look at the memorandum, the MOU, it says that they're going to be managing this strait. We're not going to allow it. And that's fundamentally what happens. They hit 3 ships and they've absorbed 150 shots.
So part of the problem is that after we took out all the leaders, at least the first 2 levels, the Iranians had a goal, and the supreme leader left a plan to decentralize power. And I think this is by design. He realized that it would have brought them to the hill, and the IRGC has all the weapons, and they're firing on these shipping containers. And they realize, because of what we've telegraphed through the media, that the gas prices are going to be affected right there. And so they hope to pressure the president to make policy decisions strictly based on the gas price. And I think the president is annoyed with them right now. He realized that they're a bunch of liars. He's always realized that. But I also think there has been credible threats against his life. And it shows, Emily, that the president was quite angered by that yesterday.
Indeed. And he still has economic and many military options. So those that consider this an escalation leading to, quote, war, the reality is that they have quite a large hierarchy of decisions militarily that simply show the Iranians that when you strike, in the words of Vice President J.D. Vance, we will hit the hell out of you back. And the triage necessary right now is to maintain the Strait of Hormuz so that it's not subjected to piracy, right? We have to ensure the economic and the sort of navigable benefit of the Strait of Hormuz, because right now, if Iran is in control, that has that global impact. And when we harness the energy possible from it, then we show we, A, don't need them, but also that the rest of the world is aligned with us in ensuring that they don't hijack it.
If you don't want to be doing this up until November, you got to hit them hard now in July. You know, everyone's like, oh, it's too close to the midterms. They said that in May.
Yeah.
So now it's getting, you know, you hit them hard,
Now it's getting
give them
close.
everything. Now it's getting closer, but still, it's still July. But the smaller hits, let's talk about it, probably work to Iran's behalf, because there's reports that they want to make President Trump Jimmy Carter. They hurt Jimmy Carter, stopped him from getting reelected. Ronald Reagan comes in. They wanted Carter out. They want Trump out. But they can't get him out. But you know what they would do? They would take away a lot of his power by flipping the House and Senate, by making gas prices high. That's why July is so important. That's why 150 strikes shows the president's not more concerned about security than he is gas prices, but he should just hit them hard And the price of oil goes up, but it'll eventually go down when we solve this problem. Retired.
Yeah, you know, the funny part is Americans are not blaming Iranians for the higher gas prices. We're all collectively blaming this fucking guy right here, the orange bastard, dementia diaper Don over here. We're blaming him for the higher gas prices because this was a war we did not need to be a part of. The gas prices did not need to go up. The Strait of Hormuz did not need to be closed. None of these things had to happen, but they did happen. Why? Because Donald Trump is not a competent president. It's as simple as that. Trump, in his first term, could have done something super fucking base. He could have been a Chad. He could have switched America to renewable energy. He could have led the way, spearheaded the effort to make sure America is leading in renewable energy. He did not. He's cucked to the fossil fuel sector just like the entire Republican Party. And now we're over here like, the gas prices are going up. Oh, fucking strategic petroleum reserve is getting depleted. Oh, why won't the Iranians just open the strait? Because they're like, y'all are fucking dumbasses. That's why. You Americans are fucking dumb. Like, what the fuck are y'all doing, man? That's what they're doing. They're like, okay, you want to fucking play hardball? You want to not negotiate? You want to keep letting your fucking rabid Israel dogs fucking invade southern Lebanon? Okay, fine. No negotiation. Fuck you. Let the carnage continue. Let's see how you like it. Let's see how the American people will like it when gas prices are $5-6 fucking dollars a gallon. Let's see how you guys like it when there's a global energy shortage crisis. Let's see how y'all like it. Donald Trump's over here. He's trying to pretend like he's not bothered. He's trying to act like everything's all good, but we know he's fucking fuming. We know he is pissed. And I'll tell you what, I hope that shit accelerates his bad health.
Vice Admiral, Navy SEAL Robert Harwood grew up in Iran, led invasions in Afghanistan and Iraq, member of the Jinsa Iran Policy Project, joins us now. So when you listen to the president, you think he's evolved to where you're at, and that is you can't trust these people. They don't have legitimate aims, and they got to be stopped.
Without a doubt, Brian. And my phone was blown up yesterday from all my Iranian contacts. They're all cheering. They know the opportunity the president has. His use of force here has really reinstated that. It's also illustrated how weak the Iranians is in that they have not responded. And everyone knew at the end of the day from a historical content that Iran has never capitulated.
On Fox News, let's tune in and see what the bloodthirsty neocon from the Bush administration has to say about the Iran war. We love it. Me and my contacts, we love it. War in Iran. We've been dreaming and salivating about this for decades. Decades, I tell you. Look, these people are so fucking happy, dude. They're so happy. Even if it's at the expense of the American economy, even if it's at the expense of American lives, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Even if this shit is a botched fucking imperialist fucking mission, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, war with Iran, war with Iran, war with Iran, war with Iran. Like, fucking crazy, dude. Like, psychopaths. All these fucking people are fucking psychopaths, man. And this is why you should not watch Fox News, as I'm watching Fox News. But to not analyze it for y'all.
On anything. They've only worked to enhance their position, their financial status, and the president understands this. Right. I think he's come to that realization. And this first step of reconstituting the blockade is a critical component of that. He can now leverage all the elements of power, not only military, but more importantly, financial, and I think illustrated from his time as in Ankara, to build political support internationally and domestically to finish the job and go after the government of Iran.
So if you could pretend I'm a student at your war college class, let's take a look at this region. We hit 150 different targets over the last 48 hours. Where would you be looking at that would really get the attention of the Iranians? And that's usually in their wallets.
Well, again, I'd start outside the Gulf itself, where you're showing Chabahar, a city called Josk. That's risk-free almost. It's the hardest point in Iran for them to supply. There's a major port there. Start there. Take it out. Put boots on the ground if you'd have to. If you put any boots.
There you go. Put boots on the ground. Put boots on the ground. Doesn't matter how unpopular that is with the American people. Doesn't matter if we get ourselves into another quagmire. Put boots on the ground. Me and my buddies, we just want war with Iran. Fox News wants war with Iran. We all just want war with Iran. Do the American people not want war with Iran? I don't understand. Where's the disconnect?
Boots on the ground. And while I know there's risk involved with that, the message to the population of Iran that America is serious, that they're going to finish this thing, is the indicator. So I work my way up into the Gulf, towards Qeshm, towards Bandar Abbas, those areas, and all along the Gulf. Control that, and you can control Iran.
All right, so let's take a look at another map, because this is going to be some of the target-rich areas. But as we look at a different...
Yo, Brian Kilmeade, why don't you ask the Vice Admiral what, is the estimate for the American lives that will be lost for this military maneuver? What is the estimate for the Iranian lives that will be lost for this military maneuver, huh? They don't care. They don't fucking care. Think these people care? They don't give a fuck, dude. These are the same people who tell you, America, we love America, we love America. What they really mean is, we love sending American troops to die for American empire. That's what they really mean. We love sending American troops to die for American corporations, for multinational corporations. That's what they really mean. We don't care if Iranians die. We don't care.
Map. This is where the blockade was. This is what the Iranians want to control. What would we have to hit to push the Iranians back out of that?
All of those places in Iran, and starting with the choke points.
Is this all mountainous, and are there rockets buried there? Are there drone sites, launch sites?
Sure, there's stuff dispersed, whatever, but that topography, there's your issue. That's the hardest part for Iran to supply, support, especially if you blockade and nothing's coming up. To move anything south from Tehran, from Tabriz, any of those other locations to reinforce and support that is difficult. So it leaves those assets on their own, dependent on those supplies and stuff they receive. And so we can easily control that. So yes, work your way up the Gulf, take out the coastline, but ultimately also hold Tehran at risk as well.
The capital. Because that's where the so-called brain trust is, which before this conflict started, they couldn't even deliver water. So I don't know what they're dealing with now. Admiral, we'll have to see where this goes, because now it is back to kinetic military operations, and it doesn't look like the IRG cares much, even if the foreign minister and speaker do. Admiral, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Want even more Fox News on YouTube? Become a Fox News Patriot today. Click join.
Thank you. No, thank you. I'm okay. End this conflict. Trump drops blunt warning after massive strike.
But we've already won militarily. They have very little. They have very little left, and they want to make a deal so badly. They called a little while ago. They want to make a deal so badly. I just don't know if they're worthy of making a deal. I don't know that they're going to honor the deal. That's the problem.
Just a day after declaring the Iran ceasefire over, the president is threatening more military action. President Trump says Iran called him to make a deal, but whether that regime can be trusted has become the most important question. Welcome to the Big Money Show, everyone. I'm Jackie DeAngelis, along with my co-hosts Taylor Riggs, Dagan McDowell, and Brian Bremberg. With us for the hour, Endeavor PAC founder Tiffany Smiley. Great to see you. U.S. forces have struck roughly 90 Iranian military targets, with CENTCOM saying the operation was designed to protect commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Trump's warning is pure and simple. The Strait of Hormuz stays open. Target commercial shipping again, and the U.S. will hit back. For investors, this could be the beginning of diplomacy again, or a much wider conflict. The price of oil lower today, but holding above $72 a barrel. So you've got the markets picking up a little bit on this, and oil holding stable. But I'm tired of the word again when it comes to President Trump. We either can trust them or we can't trust them based on the negotiations that have played out. And I would say we can't trust them. So what are we waiting for, Dagan, before we make a bolder move to end this conflict?
The reason that I would say one of the major reasons, to reiterate something we talked about, that we entered into this deeply flawed memorandum of understanding was to help replenish energy inventories globally, and because the American people were not willing to pay $1 or $2 more a gallon for gasoline for regime change and for a true destruction of the Iranian regime. So where are we now? We're at kind of a tipping point that we have, even though that this conflict, when we were full bore, was not costing as much money as we thought it was. Initially, what were the numbers thrown out? Like $1 billion a day.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fraction of that.
Yeah.
But we have reached the limits of how much we can borrow without causing impacts to both inflation and longer-term interest rates. So this kind of unfinanced spending or deficit spending will show up in prices and interest rates. We've been doing it since 2000, but it didn't become a problem until really 2020 COVID era spending and kind of monetary blowout, 2020, 2021. So at the margin, whatever we do in terms of like unexpected deficit spending causes interest rates and inflation to run higher and hotter. And the voting people and the American people can't tolerate it and won't tolerate it. Yeah. And that's kind of the vice.
Don't worry, lovely people at Fox Business. Trump's tax cuts for the billionaires will solve everything. I have been told that the money will trickle down into our pockets. So we're good, guys. We're good. You don't have to talk about this.
That the president is in.
And that is a very fine line to walk when you think about it that way. Thank you for putting it in context in that way. So, Tiffany, I come to you when it comes to the voter midterm elections, what happens next, how people are feeling. Oil prices had dropped under 70. We were just starting to feel some relief at the pump, which everyone was happy about. But here we are again in a position where potential conflict could ratchet those prices up, impact the rates, impact inflation. I don't think that's something that the American people have appetite for. I think the president understands that.
Yes.
So,
listen, lovely people of Fox Business. I'll tell you what the American people don't want. They don't want the Epstein files to be released. All right. They don't want this war, which has cost America $100 billion, over $100 billion so far, to stop. All right. Americans don't want affordable gas at the gas pumps. What Americans do want, they just want Donald Trump to continue. They just want him to continue this war and then maybe, put boots on the ground, and then we get to get entangled in another Middle East quagmire for another decade or so, That's what Americans want. That's really what they want. Or at least that's what you want them to say. At least that's what you want American people to want, right?
how do you walk this tightrope?
Right, and I think the president has shown that he is incredibly frustrated with Iran. He seems very frustrated, and rightfully so. He has been negotiating with them for a while now. I think he made it clear that he first hit them militarily, and now he's not afraid to hit them on the economic side. He's willing to do whatever it takes, and I think he kind of laid that out over the last couple of days to the American people, that he will see this through. America's not just going to roll over and say, we can't do this. He will deal with them, and he will finish the deal. Now, what that deal looks like and how long the American people have to sort of absorb the pain of that is to be determined. But I think President Trump knows he has them in a place where he holds the cards. How long, how much military strength will it take? That's to be determined. But I think the positive side of it is that he showed confidence and resolve. And, the general election, what are we at? 4 months away now. A lot can change. Mm-hmm. And I know we keep saying that, but in terms of politics, domestic politics, that's a lifetime.
I love working with such smart people because you're making me think about something. And Brian, I'm going to kick this to you.
Oh, you shouldn't go to me next after saying that. That's a bad idea, Jackie. You know.
Is this idea that
He's just here
Tiffany
for the look.
is bringing it up. This idea that the president actually knows exactly where he stands. He's watching all the data. He's watching all the numbers. And he does still realize that he has time. Now, the interesting part of this is we don't really know what's happening in Iran because they block everybody out and there's no internet. And people can't communicate. So we don't necessarily know how bad or you know, what level of bad it is there economically for them right now. Maybe it is far worse than it's, you know, anticipated. Maybe the duration that we need to wait it out isn't that much longer.
Yeah.
Especially with Besant and these sanctions again, no selling of
Well,
oil.
and when you deal with people who don't care what's happening to their population, I mean, that is kind of in their favor in the negotiation. They just do not care. We care if people are paying 50 cents a gallon.
Hey, listen, dog, that's in our favor too. American people don't give a American government doesn't give a fuck about the American people. Hey, we got that working for us too. Come on now.
More for gas. They don't care if people are starving.
Right.
So that's what Trump is up against. What it seems like we're doing, and this makes some sense, because you use the word see this through. What does it mean to see this through? Some people say, well, that means kind of the definitive blow against the regime. And I don't even know what that means exactly. Some would say that's Carg Island. That would be some limited boots on the ground. I don't know. It strikes me that every time Iran is now trying to do something with the Strait, they're getting less leverage for the effort. Okay, so they struck us. They hit 3 ships. We obliterated, you know, we just pummeled them 90 targets last night. We hit some bridges, I think, as well last night. You quoted oil at the beginning of the show. When I was looking at it, it was in the 71s. Maybe it's just above 72. But that's nothing for what's happening with the Strait right now. Now, I could be, you know, that could change in a day. But what it tells me is Iran's leverage is slipping away. And so what that might mean to the president is I don't need to take a big risk. I don't need to put boots in the ground. I don't need to do Carg Island. I can grind them down every time they lob something at us. They're not getting much for it, and we hit them back harder. To Dagan's point, that's
every day that oil tankers cannot get through the Strait is a day that America is losing this war. It doesn't matter how many Iranian targets you strike, because the second you try to ram those oil tankers through, guess what's on those tankers? Oil. Guess what happens when oil's lit on fire? Boom. Guess what? Iran has a lot of fucking drones that can make shit go boom. America, please stop the imperialism. Close all the bases. Cut Pentagon spending. Invest in your people, America. Invest in us. Invest in us. And we shouldn't even be asking. It's our money. It's our money. And look what the tyrant, look what the oligarchs want to spend it on. To nobody's surprise, more endless war.
could be a budget buster. I agree with that, and that could send interest rates up. I'm going to set that aside. But it does seem to me that time is on our side here.
Okay, and this is interesting too, because Taylor, yesterday when we were looking at the markets, we had steep sell-off based on all of this.
Yeah.
Then the president's at NATO. He starts making some.
How is time on our side if we can't get the tankers through, get more oil, and resume global trade, right, and stop the energy crisis? How are we at an advantage if our strategic petroleum reserves are being depleted rapidly? Like, how are we at? I'm so tired, Chief. I'm so tired.
Comments, and he says the ceasefire is over, but then he gives you the inclination that he'll hit them back for retaliation purposes, but that this isn't going to be some big blow up kind of a situation, and the markets start rebounding and reversing those losses, and today they're higher.
Yep.
So what that tells me is markets do not want some huge military conflict. They want to see this play out, even if it takes maybe a little bit longer. They want to see it play out in a little bit of a safer way with the president.
The markets don't seem to want a military conflict. You don't fucking say, man. Oh my god, brilliant fucking market analysis over here.
President getting what he wants.
The market
Yes.
doesn't
So
like
the market's desperate
political
just to be
instability.
able to ignore this. Desperate to be able to focus on earnings that are, I think, going to be starting next week, and the thick of it really at the end of July. Desperate to be looking at oil not at 80, but back in the 70s. And so I think you're right that they're looking for sort of a quick resolution, but a long-term resolution so we can get back to business. We talked about this sell-off yesterday. We've talked about sort of this rotation out of hardware into software. Today, software down, hardware up a little bit. So you're seeing a little bit of that. But you're not coming out of the equity market. You're just seeing this rotation within the equity market. I hope I didn't step on your toes, Dagan, because I think you mentioned hints of this yesterday. But you are still very close to record highs on the triple Qs. And yet now more than half of NASDAQ stocks are in a bear market. More than half of tech stocks are now down 20% from their last, yearly high that we have seen. And if I'm looking at my numbers correctly, almost 80% are in a correction, which means you're down 10%. Historically, when we've seen that, you see a pretty big dip and then you get a lot of the buying activity. I haven't seen a big dip yet. You're still near that record high when you're just looking at the triple Qs. That's just like sort of an easy ETF way to look at big tech. So I think the market's trying to figure out, okay, so we need to see that big decline because historically, when you get these big tech stocks that are in correction, in bear market territory, you would see a significant pullback in the broader index, and you haven't gotten that yet. So I think that's sort of like the worry on the horizon. I'll save some of these comments because I know we're going to be doing Pepsi and the consumer later. But Costco came out a little bit. There are reports.
Tech stocks are down. They keep trying to fucking automate everyone's job away with AI. They're laying off people left and right. They're spending gobbles of money on AI technology. And according to recent reporting, that shit is not paying to fuck off. And it's a money-burning operation. I wonder why the tech stocks are down. Do the tech companies even fucking make anything anymore? Did he make anything, or are they just fucking going all in on trying to replace all of our fucking jobs and feeding us the meat grinder, huh? Maybe the American people should take note. Maybe the American people should take note what the tech oligarchs are doing. These people want to be a lord, of a network state. They want to be lord of their own little corporate fiefdom where they get to be king and there's no laws, huh? How does that sound? Does that seem like a good idea? How are they doing running their companies right now? Huh?
Reports that maybe they started to see a slowdown in June relative to May. Levi was falling this morning because they raised guidance, but it missed expectations. And there are worries about sort of that business going forward, even though analysts are still sort of very positive. You haven't?
I haven't, so I take the blame.
Oh, you're the blame.
My bad.
So again, these are one-off companies, but I think the market's just trying to figure out, after an 80% jump in the stocks, a record quarter, how much of this drawdown have we yet not seen? I talked about Micron yesterday, hit the 50-day moving average and bounced up nicely. That's good. That means there's support levels there. We're not crashing through it. But I think the next couple weeks, as we're in that sort of transition period until we get to earnings, will be key until investors sort of figure out the numbers and what we hear.
And that does have an economic impact as well. I mentioned the wealth effect. Does the downdraft in these stocks, the downdraft in Bitcoin, which was a huge tailwind for a lot of people, how does that impact people's spending? And I think you are starting to see it show up. So it's not just the higher gasoline prices, the higher inflation that people are trying to cope with, but it's also the, my portfolio balance looks a little light.
Slimmer.
And even though America lost the war, even though Trump got a face full of shit from the Iranians because they utterly humiliated America, maybe Trump and his corrupt family are still gonna make out winners in this. because he acquired $10 million of defense stocks last year. Companies like Palantir and Lockheed Martin, right? Brokers representing President Donald Trump purchased between $9.7 million and $24.3 million in stocks from a dozen arms manufacturers and other Pentagon contractors in 2025, including Palantir, Lockheed Martin, and General Dynamics, according to an RS analysis of a new financial disclosure released by the president last week. You guys could check this out. This is from Responsible Statecraft. Trump acquired at least $10 million of defense stocks last year. And that is the name of the game in America. War, 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 and some more war. They call it defense, but they really ought to call it the war industry, the weapons industry, the death and destruction industry. That's what America's best at. American imperialism, American death and carnage, baby. If that's at the expense of other people overseas, if that's at the expense of Americans domestically, so be it. As always, folks, Marketized Enterprise. Take care.